If I told you guys in December that Mike Vrabel would be coaching a team in Ohio, how many of you would have been pumped that there'd be a change in Columbus? But instead, it's an absolute stunner. He is joining the Browns as a personnel consultant and likely helping out on the defensive side with Jim Schwartz. So we're going to break this down. Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports, hosted by yours truly, Matthew Peterson. But initial reaction is, I like this. I mean, for a lot of reasons. One, it's a homecoming. He gets to come back to the Buckeye State. So Buckeyes fans and just Ohio football fans in general love to see Vrabel back home. And from a football standpoint, I don't see how this is not a great addition for the Browns to their coaching staff / just overall coaching department, right? Mike Vrabel, in my eyes, one of the best coaches in football. I know things went south towards the end in Tennessee. I felt like that was a panic hire by the Titans, and I was shocked no other team hired him. So for the Browns to scoop him up as a consultant, I mean, this just feels unfair, right? To have Jim Schwartz and Mike Vrabel stalking the sidelines in practice and on game day together, this defense is going to be already elite, and it comes into the season as one of the best defenses in football. You can look at the updated coaching staff for offense and defense after what has been a busy few weeks for Kevin Stefanski and company, because they have been making some changes to the offensive and the defensive coaching staffs. But Mike Vrabel, wow, an absolute stunner. Did not think we would be talking about this today, but this is a move that I can 100% get around, and I would assume you can get around this as well. So the only little fan fiction, will you call it, is some people have been quick to point out, the Browns have not extended Kevin Stefanski yet. Is this them planting a seed in case things don't go well with Deshaun Watson 2024? Put that fire out. No. Kevin Stefanski just won his second NFL Coach of the Year award. This is not the Browns just thinking a couple of steps ahead. Yes, they have not finalized an extension for Andrew Berry and Stefanski yet. It's also March 15th. We are a long ways away from September. Let's pump the brakes on connecting the dots. These are not dots that need to be connected. This is just an all-around awesome hire. I don't see how the defense does not improve by having Mike Vrabel's wisdom and knowledge on this team. And all around, an awesome homecoming for Vrabel. I hope he kills it in Cleveland in 2024, and he will likely get a new head coaching gig in 2025. It's also a little funny because Jim Schwartz was in this exact role in Tennessee under Mike Vrabel. So now, Yankee swap, right? Flip-flop right there. So now it is Jim Schwartz on top, Mike Vrabel on bottom. All right. So that is the first bit of news that I wanted to talk about today. The news that I was originally planning on talking about was the Browns created more cap space. So they have restructured Jerry Jeudy's contract to create $10 million in cap space, taking some of his base salary, almost all of it, putting it into a signing bonus. So Field Yates was the first one on it. The Browns, along with the 49ers, restructuring some contracts. Now, I know the first question a lot of you have is, Petey, what kind of cap space do the Browns have to work with? We'll get to that in a moment. I first want to just point out that Andrew Berry is not afraid to ask Jimmy Haslam to write a bunch of signing bonuses, because look at all the contract restructures the Browns have done so far. Denzel Ward cleared up $11.3 million, okay? Jedrick Wills, do not hit the shot. I'm watching Tennessee, Mississippi State in the corner of my eye. Jerry Jeudy, $10 million. So they can also restructure Deshaun Watson's contract. He currently has a cap hit of about $66 million. That is not out of the question just yet, but maybe for some reason the Browns decide, let's take a big chunk of that cap hit for 2024. It would be an NFL record by, I think, about $30-ish million, somewhere in that ballpark. So it would be a ginormous cap hit if they do not restructure Deshaun Watson's deal. But, Andrew Berry's a cap wizard. Just have some blind trust that he knows what he's doing. Speaking of Andrew Berry, for all of you wondering how much cap space do the Browns have now, ask Andrew Berry. Over the cap tells you they are in the red by $2 million. The NFLPA says the Browns have the second most cap space. The answer is no one really knows outside of Berea, because none of us know how all these contracts have been structured, right? All the, recent signings the Browns have done so far, We don't know where they put the cap hits. They put void years on these deals and whatnot. So we're just spitballing when it comes to how much cap space Cleveland has. But ultimately, if the Browns want cap space, they can go get cap space. So with that being said, once we saw Jeudy got his contract restructured, it did not take a rocket scientist to go $10 million freed up in cap space. Is that because Andrew Berry has one more big move in him and he wanted to free up some money to do it? I would think Andrew Berry is done for spending contracts worth $10 million, whether that's in free agency or acquiring a player who's got that level of a base salary. But then again, it is Andrew Berry, and he is the most aggressive GM in football, and if he sees an area to improve, and the only thing holding him back is assets or Jimmy Haslam's money, he will not stop. So let me get your opinion on this. Do the Browns have one more trade in them? We were going to talk about the possibility of Cleveland pursuing Josh Sweat from the Philadelphia Eagles, but then the Eagles restructured his deal to keep him in Philly this season. So we can cross out Josh Sweat from Andrew Berry's wish list, but there is another Eagles pass rusher that maybe the Browns kick the tires on. I don't think this would happen for a little while. I feel like this could be a near close to draft trade if it did go down, because maybe the asking price drops as more time passes. But the guy I'm talking about is Haason Reddick, right? Remember a few weeks ago, right after the Super Bowl, I think it was, there was some reports coming out that the Haason Reddick camp was looking for a trade, and the Eagles gave him permission. And then Haason Reddick said, I don't want to be traded. But the Eagles informed him that they would explore trade options. So let's get the latest on Haason Reddick. He's entering the final year of a 3-year, $45 million contract. It is an absolute bargain. He has outperformed that contract. And with him going into the final year of it, he's looking for an extension. And I don't think the Eagles are looking to give out that extension, which is why we have a possible trade because, well, if you can get something for a guy before he leaves after this season, if that's the plan all along, Philadelphia could very well explore that. Then you toss in the fact that they signed Bryce Huff to a $50+ million contract, and there appears to be one too many edge rushers in Philadelphia. So, could Cleveland pursue a Haason Reddick trade? I would not rule it out. I don't think it's a 0% chance of happening. I do feel like it's a long shot, but then again, we found ourselves in a similar spot last year with Zadarius Smith. Now, they got Zadarius Smith, so you could really make a solid argument of they're pretty good at edge rusher, but if you feel that, hey, God damn it, turnover, I'm going to freak out. How is Mississippi State playing like a 1 seed right now? To end the half, as I was saying, you could really make a good argument that once they got Zadarius Smith, like with Okoronkwo signing already, they're already in a good spot right now, so I'm not in a good spot mentally. It's 38-19 against Mississippi State at the half. That they are pretty good at edge rusher. All right, that made for some bad Browns content. Let's talk about another trade rumor. Greg Newsome. Should the Browns trade their cornerback? His base salary this year is $2.3 million. So any team acquiring him does not have to have a lot of cap space available. And that's a huge factor into what kind of compensation you can get in a trade. And we should have learned that lesson from the Jeudy trade, right? Broncos fans were probably very disappointed that they only got a 5th and a 6th for him. But he had a $12.9 million cap hit. Meanwhile, Greg Newsome, you're taking on his base salary mostly, so it's very minuscule. But his 5th-year option, which that decision comes at the beginning of May, that is worth $13.3 million. So if a team wants to get Greg Newsome, they could have him for cheap this year and then $13.3 million next season. Now, why would the Browns be interested in trading Greg Newsome? Well, after trading for Jeudy, they only have 5 draft picks. Their second, a 3rd, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. So there are a couple of ways to accumulate more draft picks. The easiest would be trading a player, right? You can also trade back, but that requires a trade partner. So you got to find someone who wants to trade up to one of these picks. And a good enough trade where you feel like you're getting a fair deal in return and you're not just trading back just for the sake of trading back to get meaningless 6th and 7th round draft picks. So could Greg Newsome be a guy that Andrew Berry goes, you know what? He's been a good corner for us, but we only have 5 draft picks. I've got a lot of mouths to feed, and he's got a $13+ million 5th-year option coming up that We don't feel he maybe is worth that much money. We've got some maturity concerns. There wasn't a great reception after the Texans playoff loss with the way Greg Newsome kind of handled what I thought was an awful game and whatnot. But I don't think there are major character concerns. Greg Newsome has been so vocal about his love for the city of Cleveland ever since he got drafted there. He hosted charity softball events, so I don't buy into that argument all that much. Now, for those of you saying Greg Newsome just isn't that good, I disagree. Is Greg Newsome a player that would go in round 1 in a redraft? No, I don't think he would. Would he go very far from it? I don't think so either. I think he would go around round 2. So the Browns may go, all right, he's not maybe what we all hoped he would be, but then again, that was a late first-round pick. Like, have a little bit lower expectations. I know it's still round 1, but just because there's 32 picks in round 1 does not mean there are 32 guys with first-round grades on them. Usually there's about 20 or so, and then there's just 12 or so guys that are fortunate enough to be called first-round draft picks, and I think that's some of the bucket Greg Newsome fell in. So let me know if you would trade Greg Newsome for a third. I don't think you're going to get a second for him. He played really well last year, so I think a third is reasonable for a trade. I thought the Lions would be interested, but they traded for Carlton Davis from the Buccaneers. No idea if they kicked the tires on a Greg Newsome trade or if they never pursued it or they did and Cleveland said no. That is a question that maybe we'll never get the answer to, or maybe we will down the road. But when it comes to Newsome for a third, would you do that? Let me know. I'm not trading Greg Newsome. I'm not trading Greg Newsome for 3 big reasons. The first reason is you don't trade away good players at a cornerstone piece. Quarterback, edge rusher, cornerback, wide receiver, offensive tackle. Those are the 5 positions that most commonly go in the first 10 picks of the draft. Why? Because they are the most important positions for having a successful football team. Is Greg Newsome an awesome CB1? No, I don't think he is. I don't think I'm going to try to convince you that he is. Is he an above average starter? Is he an average starting corner? Yeah. I do think Greg Newsome is a good starting cornerback in this league, right? So for that reason, I'm not interested. Second reason, you have Denzel Ward, who has never played a full season. Don't you see a future problem for the Browns if they trade away his backup right now and the inevitable Denzel Ward injury happens? You're kind of setting yourself up for future failure. And then the third reason is if you're all in on 2024, you don't trade Greg Newsome for reasons 1 and 2 combined, right? You're trying to win this year. How do you make your 2024 roster better? By trading a guy at a cornerstone piece who plays well when he's already very much needed to fill in for Denzel Ward when the injury occurs. Like, for those reasons and the 2024 element, I'm not interested in moving on from Greg Newsome. Even if he is not an awesome cornerback, I think if you want to get the best football team for 2024, and that appears to be the plan in place here, moving on from a starting player so that maybe that third-round pick is good. I think for those of you that want to trade Greg Newsome, you're so quick to assume that the third-round pick the Browns get for Newsome and that player they draft is going to be spectacular. Maybe he's going to be a Martin Emerson, and if so, that's an awesome deal. Maybe he'll be an Anthony Schwartz. It's a crapshoot, guys. Stop assuming it's going to be a home run pick. All right, let's pick a card to wrap up the show. Producer Cullen, dealing with my anxiety as my one-seated volunteers, and I'm sure by the time you're watching this, you already know the result, are fucking around in the first half. What do you want to go with? They scored 19 points 19. In 20 minutes.
19.
Not even getting a point a minute.
Let's go 1 + 9.
You get
10.
2 points per basket.
You do. It's brutal. I'll go 10 of clubs.
10 of clubs. You go with 3 for Dalton Connect. 3 of spades. 4 of hearts. 4 of hearts. All right. That will do it for us on this edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. We will sign off and catch up later.